Here's the thing about overcrowding in American prisons. The numbers alone should make survival impossible. Cells built for 10 people routinely hold 40 or 50 inmates. In some facilities, the population exceeds official capacity by 500%. International standards recommend at least 4 square meters of personal space per prisoner. In reality, some inmates measure their territory in shoulder widths. This is not about comfort anymore. It is about staying alive when the system treats you as expendable. And nobody feels this pressure more acutely than Black inmates, who represent nearly half of all incarcerated Americans, despite comprising just 13% of the general population. The disparity is stark. Black adults are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white adults. When overcrowded conditions crush down on prison populations, the weight falls disproportionately on Black shoulders. What have they learned about survival that the rest of us do not know? Let us start with the most basic challenge: finding a place to sleep. In severely overcrowded facilities, inmates literally sleep on top of each other. Some sleep in shifts, 4 hours on, 4 hours off, rotating through limited floor space. Others develop more desperate solutions. In some international prisons facing similar conditions, inmates tie themselves to window bars so they can sleep standing up when there is no room to lie down. The floor becomes prime real estate. Veterans of overcrowded cells describe hierarchies of sleeping positions. Against the wall is safest. Threats come from one direction only. The center of the floor leaves you exposed on all sides. Near the toilet means dealing with smells and foot traffic all night long. These are not random preferences. They are survival calculations made by people who have learned that positioning matters more than comfort. Personal belongings get hung on walls: clothing, bags, books, prayer rugs, anything to maximize precious floor space. Every inch counts when 40 people share a room built for 10. Here is where body heat becomes both weapon and resource. Each human body produces roughly 80 to 100 watts of heat. Multiply that by 40 bodies in a sealed concrete room, and you have a serious thermal problem. In summer months, cell temperatures climb past 120 degrees. The concrete walls absorb heat during the day and radiate it back all night. Some facilities have recorded interior temperatures exceeding 130 degrees. Inmates describe it as being locked inside a convection oven. What do? They adapt. Experienced prisoners time their water intake carefully. They know dehydration kills faster in extreme heat than almost anything else. But they also know that drinking too much at the wrong time means trips to the shared toilet, which generates movement, which generates more heat, which makes everyone miserable. Some inmates develop what guards call desperate measures. They flood their cell toilets intentionally, then lie in the 1 inch of cold water on the concrete floor. Guards hate this. It can result in disciplinary action that affects parole. But when you are watching cellmates collapse from heat stroke, and heat-related seizures happen 3 or 4 times a day in some Texas prisons during summer months, getting a demerit seems worth the risk. Others jerry-rig improvised swamp coolers. They drape wet shirts or towels over small fans purchased from commissary. The evaporation creates a cooling effect. Basic physics applied under desperate circumstances. Pretty clever, right? But summer is not the only threat that inmates must survive. Here is the thing about winter in prison. Cold kills differently than heat, but it kills just as effectively. In facilities without adequate heating, and in many across the country, inmates report ice forming on the inside of windows. Cell walls sweat with condensation. Bedding stays perpetually damp. One inmate described watching his breath freeze in front of his face while lying in his bunk during a heating system failure. Survival strategies mirror what homeless people do in freezing cars, but with even fewer available resources. Layering becomes an art form. Inmates wear every piece of clothing they own to bed, sometimes including shoes. They curl into fetal positions to minimize surface area exposed to cold air. Some stuff newspaper or cardboard under their mattresses for additional insulation. Body proximity becomes essential. In extreme cold, cellmates who might otherwise maintain distance huddle together for warmth. The shared body heat that makes summer unbearable becomes a crucial survival tool in winter. 80 watts per person does not sound like much, but when you are sleeping next to 3 other people generating 80 watts each, you have created a human furnace that might save everyone's lives. The danger window hits from 2 to 4 in the morning, veterans say. That is when ambient temperatures drop lowest, and human core body temperature naturally dips to its lowest point. Experienced inmates set mental alarms to wake during those dangerous hours. Not to do anything specific, just to confirm they are still alive and their cellmates are still breathing. When someone stops shivering, that is a warning sign. Shivering means your body is still fighting the cold. When shivering stops, hypothermia is winning the battle. But physical survival in prison depends on more than just managing extreme temperatures. It requires resources. And resources require an economy that operates entirely outside official channels. The prison commissary may be the most important institution in any correctional facility, more important than medical care, more important than the chapel. Commissary is where inmates buy everything from hygiene products to snacks to stamps for communicating with the outside world. Since cash is strictly prohibited, prisoners have developed alternative currencies that function just like money on the outside. Stamps function like paper currency in many facilities. A single stamp represents roughly 50 cents of value, though exchange rates fluctuate based on custody level and local conditions. In general population, where inmates can hold jobs, stamps sometimes trade below face value, 35 cents each, because there is relative abundance. In administrative segregation, where jobs are forbidden, stamps hold their full value or more. It is supply and demand economics, exactly like outside these walls. The real currency revelation involves ramen noodles. When sociologists studied prison economies in recent years, they found that instant ramen had largely replaced cigarettes as the primary medium of exchange. Why the shift? Tobacco bans made cigarettes dangerous contraband. Ramen stays legal and available. More importantly, ramen connects to another survival necessity: adequate food. Prison meals are notoriously inadequate by almost any measure. One study found that 94% of formerly incarcerated people reported they could not eat enough to feel full during their sentences. Meals are bland, portions are small, and nutritional value is questionable at best, so inmates supplement with commissary purchases and improvised cooking techniques they have developed over generations. They call it a spread, a communal meal made from whatever commissary items people can pool together. The base is almost always cooked instant ramen noodles. To that foundation, inmates add whatever they have accumulated: canned tuna, squeezed cheese, crushed chips, hot sauce packets, summer sausage, chili beans. The concoction gets mixed together in a clean plastic bag, hydrated with hot water obtained from wherever possible, and shared among a group of trusted cellmates or allies. Spreads are more than nutrition. They are social rituals that build bonds and establish trust within the prison community. Contributing ingredients to a spread means you are part of something larger than yourself. Being invited to share someone else's spread means you have been accepted into their circle. In an environment where isolation can destroy you mentally, these communal meals provide crucial human connection that officials never planned for. The economics extend far beyond food into every corner of prison life. Inmates with valuable skills become entrepreneurs, operating small businesses. Someone who can cut hair, earn stamps or commissary items for their services. People who can write articulate letters for those with less education charge for their assistance. Kitchen workers who have access to fresh vegetables, onions, and seasonings unavailable elsewhere become extremely valuable trading partners, commanding premium prices. The Marshall Project documented inmates running everything from sports betting operations to legal research services, all compensated in stamps and commissary goods. The math reveals exactly why this underground economy matters so much for basic survival. Prison jobs pay between 12 cents and 40 cents per hour at most facilities. Working full-time for an entire month might earn you $20 to $30 total. Meanwhile, a single package of ramen costs around 50 cents at commissary. A tube of toothpaste runs $2. Phone calls to family members cost up to $1 per minute at some facilities. Without supplemental income from side hustles or money sent by family outside, basic survival items remain completely out of reach. Here is the thing about these economic networks. They operate along racial lines, not by personal choice, but by survival necessity that stretches back generations. American prisons have been racially segregated, both formally and informally, for most of their history. Major prison gangs formed specifically along racial and ethnic identities as protection mechanisms. The Aryan Brotherhood organizes white inmates. The Black Guerrilla Family and various Blood and Crip sets organize Black inmates. The Mexican Mafia and Nuestra Familia organize Hispanic inmates. These organizations are not social clubs for recreation. They are protection networks that provide security when official systems fail. When you enter a prison system where violence is endemic and staff protection is unreliable or non-existent, your racial group often provides your only shield against predators. Black inmates, facing the highest incarceration rates in the country, have built particularly sophisticated survival structures over decades of disproportionate exposure to these brutal conditions. Protection from these networks is not free. Gang-affiliated structures expect participation from members, in commissary contributions, in maintaining racial territories, and sometimes in violence against rivals or rule breakers. But for many inmates, the alternative is demonstrably worse. Being unaffiliated in a facility where everyone else has backing means becoming a target for robbery, assault, exploitation, or worse. About 200,000 of America's 1.5 million prisoners are formally gang-affiliated, according to estimates from correctional researchers. The influence of these structures spreads far wider than that number suggests, because non-affiliated inmates still must navigate the territories and unwritten rules these groups establish throughout every facility. But affiliation with protection networks alone does not guarantee survival through a long sentence. Mental endurance matters just as much as physical adaptation or economic access to resources. The psychological pressure of chronic overcrowding, the constant noise that never stops, the total lack of privacy, and the ever-present threat of violence from any direction can crush people who do not develop effective coping strategies for managing their minds. Veteran inmates emphasize establishing routine above almost everything else they have learned. In an environment where you control virtually nothing about your circumstances, creating your own internal schedule provides a crucial psychological anchor. Wake at the same time every day. Exercise at the same time. Read at the same time. Eat at the same time. The specific activities matter less than the consistency of performing them reliably. One man who survived a full year in solitary confinement described his mental approach this way: "Do the time, don't let the time do you." He refused to sleep through daylight hours like many others did. He set progressive exercise goals, starting with 500 sit-ups daily and eventually reaching 3,000 through gradual increases. The physical transformation of his body mattered less than the mental discipline required to achieve that transformation day after day. Exercise serves multiple survival purposes beyond basic physical fitness in these environments. It burns accumulated stress before it becomes destructive. It creates healthy fatigue that helps with sleep quality during dangerous nights. It builds physical confidence and visible strength that deters potential aggressors from selecting you as an easy target. In overcrowded conditions where aggression simmers constantly just below the surface, looking like someone who can handle themselves in a confrontation provides protection that even gang affiliation alone cannot fully guarantee. Reading and education programs offer a mental escape that nothing else can match in these restricted environments. For people with access to books, reading provides a way to leave the cell, leave the facility, and enter entirely different worlds and time periods. Philosophy, law, history, and self-help titles are particularly popular among serious readers. These subjects offer intellectual engagement and practical knowledge that might help with legal appeals or post-release planning. Letters to family and friends remain critically important despite the rise of prison email systems in recent years. Physical mail still connects inmates to families in ways that brief, expensive phone calls simply cannot replicate. The stamp currency system exists partly because stamps retain practical utility. Stamps are the only reliable way to send handwritten letters to loved ones and receive responses back. Maintaining outside connections provides emotional anchor points that prevent the psychological isolation of incarceration from becoming total. Community support works in both directions, between those inside and those outside. Informal check-in systems have developed in many facilities across the country. Networks where inmates look out for each other operate without official sanction. Someone notices if you do not show up for breakfast count. Someone asks questions if you seem withdrawn or depressed. In environments where staff may not notice or may not genuinely care when someone is struggling psychologically, peer support becomes a literal lifeline. Similar networks connect the incarcerated to outside advocates, mutual aid groups that send check-in texts during dangerous weather, and families that coordinate to ensure someone always has commissary funds. So what have we learned from examining these survival systems? Survival in overcrowded prison cells is not a single magic solution. It is thermal management, economic hustle, and careful racial navigation. It is commissary currency, communal spreads, and daily mental discipline. It is routine building, exercise regimens, and maintaining ties to the outside world. It is protection networks, peer support systems, and refusing to let the system break your spirit. Black Americans face these crushing conditions at 5 times the rate of white Americans. Over generations, they have developed survival knowledge, born from disproportionate exposure, techniques correctional officials never designed, and that most people outside prison walls will never need to know. These are not just prison hacks shared for entertainment, they are human adaptation under extreme pressure. They are engineering solutions born from desperate necessity and community structures created when official institutions fail the people they are supposed to serve. Frankly, that resilience and ingenuity is remarkable to witness.